Let's welcome back Judd Apatow and Barry Mendel, the producers of The Big Sick. Judd and Barry first, please.
And Barry Mendel, the great Barry Mendel. Emily Gordon and Kumail Nanjiani, let's hear it for them.
Thank you. Can I say one thing real quick that's been bothering me?
What's that?
No, it's great. It's great. Yeah. Trump. I'm joking.
You just thought of that.
Lock the doors. Yeah. I just started reading and stuff is happening.
The film is so great. I just sat through it again for the second time. It's pitch perfect. It's amazing. And how do you, I mean, where that starts is the original story, but how you're able to capture your own experience and then redo it. I guess it starts with a script. But I don't know if you want to talk about that process a little bit.
It was a lot of drafts. I mean, Judd's theory on the script was, we worked with people who haven't written scripts before, with Kristen and Amy Schumer hadn't written scripts before either. And Judd's theory is just write a vomit pass. And Kumail did, and then after one or two drafts, Emily started writing with him, and that really changed things and made it a much more kind of balanced male-female perspective. It got a lot better. It did get a lot better.
It was very good from the start. Yes.
But no, it was a lot of drafts, and we're pretty tough on the writing, and they worked on it for a long time, and they were very, very diligent and did a great job. And
it's a definite process working with them, and and Kumail's going to take your photo. And it's a process of keep rewriting, and going in and getting notes and keep rewriting. And if you're not really dedicated to making the movie, it will just fall off. And we worked really hard on it, and then they would work really hard on it too. And I think we were so unsure in the writing of the script how the tone was going to come through. So sometimes we would overwrite the medical part, and we would overwrite the comedy part because we didn't want it to feel like a downer, and we didn't want it to feel like just pure only comedy and that we're making fun of a coma. We call it a rom-coma. I'm the only one allowed to say that. I'm the only one allowed to say that. But then as we started shooting and kind of going into things, we realized we had more leeway than we thought. Just the idea that when you're seeing a scene in a hospital, seeing a hospital does so much of the work that you can actually have more fun than you thought because you're already setting the stakes because you're at a hospital. So we started with the script, and then as we kind of got closer to shooting, we were able to balance out the tone a bit more.
Yeah, and we definitely, Judd and Barry, and then later Mike, they are so hard on scripts. You guys are motherfuckers. We would definitely have versions where we would write and be like, all right, now this is done, send it to him, and Judd would be like, come in for a meeting. And we would walk in like, all right, we're making this movie. We'd walk out 4 hours later like, we have nothing. We have to start over. So, and that was, they just like, I think there was like we did a bunch of drafts where there was no like discussion of the religion stuff at all, for instance, and Judd was like, you have to put it in there, and I was like, I don't know what to say about it, and he was like, just say that you don't know what to say about it. And I think that was a good lesson for us, is that you don't have to have answers, just asking the questions is the important thing.
I mean, I've been working on this documentary about Gary Shandling for HBO, and he was so great at blurring the line between fact and fiction and taking moments from his life and turning them into episodes for the Larry Sanders Show. And I feel like, in a way, this movie follows in that tradition, which is they had this incredible experience in their lives, and they took it, and so part of it is real, part of it is very fictionalized over years and years of very dedicated writing.
So what's fictionalized is Emily actually never got sick or went into a coma. I'm joking. And I'm not Pakistani, I just have a tan and a speech impediment.
I do think Judd is great about taking okay, so that's what the real person was. Who is the worst person to be paired with Kumail? What's the worst type of person for a guy who's not good at being honest? What's the worst type of parents for him to be paired with? Not that he's not honest in real life, but and he was really good about saying take the worst person to be paired with this type of person and then keep cranking it. So that's how you start with a kernel of something and then end up with a really, really funny story and really funny characters.
For years, we were just talking about how can you make this amusing because they're in a hospital, waiting for someone to wake up from a coma. I was on Ellen the other day. I don't think it airs till June, but I was trying to set up the premise of the movie, and I realized how terrible it sounded. I was like, yeah, Ellen, it's like she's in a coma, and the whole movie is them waiting for her to wake up.
But it's not just that. Him and his parents have cultural differences. What a hilarious comedy.
But
I think that's going to be a challenge, is to communicate that the movie is a comedy, because when you describe it, it sounds like a nightmare.
Exactly, but that's what our work will be. Word of mouth. It's just
Tell
your
everyone.
tweets.
Tweet about it. Tell people. But I think Emily raised this point, and Judd said it too. And we've all had and we've all had people in the hospital, and you realize you can get away with more funny because people do need to deal with what's going on. Like, I remember when Emily was sick, it was like a struggle to just not think about one thing, That was like your mission for the day was anything but this one possibility. And so a lot of the humor can come from people trying to escape the reality.
The film is so clear, your romance, but it's the multi-levels. And for somebody who's in an older married couple, it's like, I just love that so much. Both in your parents, and kind of and the performances are just fantastic. How do you want to talk about casting it and that element of it? Yeah.
Oh well, we were trying to think who would be funny and have a lot of depth, and who Kumail would be terrified of, and
Holly Hunter.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was kind of an awesome thing to get to work with her. We were all a little bit scared of her, and just
Respectfully scared.
Yeah, she's just so
Scary.
Yeah.
She's lovely. She really is.
Yeah,
She's just intense. Yeah.
So it was a challenge to keep writing the script and making it good enough for her to deserve to do it.
Yeah, and that was one thing that we had with her, was when she came on, she was like, these are the things that I think Beth wouldn't do. And we're like, wow, you already know what Beth would or wouldn't do. And her and Ray both, and Zoe, really kept us honest with what felt right to them. And what was cool was, even though these characters are based on real people, they brought so much of themselves to it. And the scene with Holly where we have 4 scenes in a row where after she defends my honor with the racist heckler guy, I just that night, because it had been I'd known her for a few weeks, so I just asked her acting questions all night, and she must have been I can't wait for this to be over. But she's she's so lovely. She's really, really one of the truly, truly sincere, wonderful person.
We will have time for a couple of questions to the mics, but Romano's, so if you want to line up to ask them, go ahead. Romano's amazing too. I mean, just grounded so strongly. But so there's that, and then jumping ahead, but your performance, you're a comedian, you perform all the time, but having to have the meta of doing it fresh for the first time, and it was great, but I don't know if you want to talk about that.
He was amazing. Kumail was very, very good. And you would think going through something like this would make you a natural for playing a role like this, and I think it actually does the opposite. So I think...
What do you mean?
I think it's harder in some ways to act in something out that you've actually experienced. I think you deserve even more credit than... I don't know. He did really well, and I love him, and he's my husband. But I also I feel like it's a really, really difficult thing to have to over and over again on cue play out scenes from something pretty traumatic that happened in your life. I mean,
I just realized we did that this week on Girls, where Adam Driver makes a movie about his relationship
it's
with
not
Lena.
Easy to do.
And his acting is much worse than yours.
You heard it here first, guys. Tell everyone.
We have questions?
Yeah. Hey, Kumail.
Wait, who's that?
That's his Hannibal Buress.
Chicago comedian Hannibal Buress.
Hello, Hannibal.
Congratulations. I thought the movie was great, and you showed a lot of range. Jay, it was a great performance.
There's nothing funny about what Hannibal's saying. It's just right.
Yeah.
Just accurate.
My favorite joke was where you answered an unknown number at 12:45 in the morning.
We had to get to Act 2, Hannibal.
Let me just know I just wanted to know the process behind that.
Now, I have a question. Hannibal, weren't you there when some of this happened in Chicago?
Nah, we weren't that close.
No, we didn't really get to know each other well until New York.
Yeah, we knew each other through shows, but he wouldn't say, hey, she's sick. We didn't talk like that.
If he did,
I would have listened. I was like, man, that's messed up.
I got a card from a bunch of comedians once I woke up. Did you sign the card?
I don't know if I was presented the opportunity to sign the card. I think if it was presented to me, I don't see a situation where I would say no.
Yeah, that would be rude. That would be rude.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great question, Hannibal.
All right, thanks a lot. Congratulations, y'all. That
We
was
love
dope.
you, Hannibal.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Will. Go ahead.
Hi, Kumail. That movie was intensely personal. I'm a Pakistani Muslim, and I've related to your story in so many respects. And I'm wondering if the one thing I kept thinking about through the film, and I apologize if I kind of ramble a little bit, but is in Trump's America, I think about, I am Muslim, and I'm not as practicing, or I don't really follow the religion, but I've sort of felt this need to kind of lead with my Muslim identity to sort of defy these stereotypes, because they're incredibly hurtful. My mom passed away a couple of years ago, and Islam gave her nothing but peace. And I'm just wondering how you thought about that, or if you thought about that in this film. It was so incredibly powerful. But
thank you. And I'm sorry to hear about your mom. We made this before the election, and it's interesting how certain scenes play differently. Like the scene where I get heckled used to be like this funny sort of, it was just a funny scene, and that guy was the underdog. He was the asshole. Now when you watch it, it feels like this howl of rage from Holly, and it just plays very differently. And I have that same thing where, I'm not a practicing Muslim, but now I'm like, I'm fucking Muslim, dude. Like, you have that, you kind of want to own it and be like, Emily talks about how, we go to like, in pop culture, there's when you think of Muslim, you think of one type of person. You don't think of you or me. You think of like, Muslims on the news. But when you go to like the theme park, there's Muslims there. And Emily was like, we should start a Tumblr called Muslims Having Fun. Yeah. And it's just like Muslims eating ice cream cones and like screaming on roller coasters, so.
And it is true that before half of my family was Muslim, I didn't ever see Muslims having fun, and they get down, like they have fun, they do, like they have a blast, and it's like not any different than anybody else. So I think I would love for the rest of America to just get a glimpse of that as a white woman who has no real place to talk about any of this right now.
And thank you so much for saying what you said. It means a lot to me.
Lead with your Muslim, man. Do it.
Thank you so much.
Because the truth is that the people who aren't having fun are the Jews.
Always with it coming back to that.
Hi, I'm Cricket from Encinitas, California, and I'm glad Judd just mentioned what he just said about the Jews, because I was thinking one of my favorite parts of this movie was when, I believe you said it, is there a way that we could be in this relationship together, that this could work out in this world? And of course, you had to answer honestly and say, probably not. But the coolest thing is when you were talking about developing the screenplay, you were saying a lot of times you could just leave it with a question.
Yeah.
And that question goes far beyond even American Pakistani. It would go to maybe your mom saying, I want you to find a nice Jewish girl, or Italian.
I did not.
Exactly. So I thought that was the most beautiful thing. And you guys casting Holly as the mom, where it's very real. And I love Superbad and I love Knocked Up, but it felt very real, because that mama bear that part of it, or your heritage, or your family so strongly saying, you need to be over here and do what we do, or you're not with us at all. And I love how you guys tackled that in the film, and you guys are living through it. So how did that particular line, like, what did that mean to you? How did that feel for you when you had to act it out in this film?
Well, the weird thing was.
What's the weird thing?
The weird thing was how much doing the scenes felt like, how similar it felt to actually being there, living through it. So I thought that they would feel different because you're acting, but it really, all those scenes felt very real. And a lot of it was writing conversations that I wish I'd had with people, with my parents. And then that fight was, we in real life never had that exact fight. But it was all these sort of unsaid things that.
Go ahead.
Are you mugging? We didn't have that fight, but a part of it was just, it felt scary doing that scene because I saw like the alternate universe where we don't end up together, so it's scary.
Absolutely. You were going to say something.
In real life, I knew that I was a secret to his family, and I was like, well, this is kind of amusing. And then as I was kind of falling for him, I was like, this is going to end up badly. And I just was like, there's no way that I can't see a way out of this that's like successful. I don't know how this is going to go. And it was something I kind of struggled with to my parents and to my friends. And, if I hadn't gotten sick, I don't know what would have happened. Kumail insists we would have still ended up together, but my body just kind of took over and was like, I'll handle things from here.
Can I say one real quick thing? This is only going to be even more embarrassing. I won't say it. Thank you. What's your question?
Thank you.
No, it's fine. Do you know what happens? You know that sometimes you do a movie and you write the script and you mention the name Elijah Wood shows up, and while you're watching it, Elijah Wood is sitting behind you. You know how that happens sometimes? I was really watching it and I was like, oh, fuck.
It's a perfect name to drop. Someone we admire a lot. Anyway.
That's who we all want to be.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I had a friend who was also in a medically induced coma, so that O2 joke that he leads with when he sees you is perfect. But so you talked earlier about how hard you worked on the script, and then you cast someone like Ray Romano to play your dad. Does it hurt you that he probably didn't really stick to the script much, or did he? Or, I mean, how much was him improvising, and how much of that was on the page as written?
Oh, he stuck to the script for the most part. There were a couple of scenes that we kind of almost built in for improvising like the throw the chalk at Jimmy, all the games he makes up. That's obvious. That's an improv. I could not have written that if I tried. But he basically kept to the script, and improvising was done after the scene had been gotten, just to kind of like, let's play and see what we can kind of do. And that kind of helped us sprinkle in lighter moments. But yeah, he brought what we needed him to in all realms of acting, and then he brought his silliness when we wanted it.
Although Ray did come up with the line, I was just talking and hoping something smart would come out of my mouth.
Can I say something? He didn't. That was in the script.
Ray will fight you to the death on that.
Do you know what? Ray probably improvised it.
Ray and Elijah Wood will fight you to the death on that.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Corey from Houston. I loved the film, loved everything about it. If it's all right, I want one question for Judd. I'm sure you've been asked this 1,000 times. You're probably tired of it. Somebody that idolizes your work, wants to do the same career you have, a writer, director, producer, loves everything you've done. What advice would you give starting out from nowhere?
Man, I also had kick-ass, amazing comedian. Judd's an amazing comedian on top of everything else. It's unfair, frankly, but continue.
Well, I always give the same advice to people. I mean, when I started, I was at USC Film School in 1985 for about I dropped out, though. But it was very it was very expensive to make anything because you'd have to buy Super 8 film and get it developed and then get tape and cut it together. And it was just hard to make things. And right now, it just doesn't cost anything to make things. So the only thing that really prevents you from doing something is your own energy and ambition to just go out with your iPhone or your Canon camera and make a little short or whatever you're interested in, and then when you're done, don't talk about it for 2 years. Just start the next one. A lot of people make one thing and they talk about it. Excuse me, it's the cocaine.
That's the other trick.
During the movie, I get nervous and I cry a lot during the movie. Every time I watch it, I just cry a lot because I'm that way. And I left in the middle and bought 2 things of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, and I ate it, and now the phlegm. I ate 2 things of Ben and Jerry's.
I have some questions. 2 same flavors or different flavors?
A cookie dough and like a fudge brownie. And that's how I kind of, just keep myself busy.
I have more questions. So are you open one and you finish it, then you go to the second one, or are you going back? I'm sorry, hold on. Or are we going back and forth? What are we doing?
No, I'm opening one, finishing it, then I go, I'm going to wait like 15 minutes, and then I'll have the other one, and then I wait like 10 seconds, and I start the other one. But anyway, you really should just make stuff, like that sketch that Will Ferrell and Adam McKay made, The Landlord on Funny or Die. I mean, that literally cost $0 to make, and it has like 400 million hits. So just make some shit. That's what you got to do.
Well, thank you.
Actually, I'm sorry, we're out of time.
Oh, really?
One more thing on the ice cream.
Okay.
Kumail did ice cream bits and ate up you guys' question time.
No, we do better. One super fast
Just
one.
all
Super
3 of
fast
you
one.
ask your questions and we'll answer them super quickly. So you go with your question and then you and then you. Okay, go.
Okay. I love things that are based on like true stories. I love Crashing, Judd, and this movie, obviously, just phenomenal.
9 inches. Go next.
And I love just sort of everything that's kind of based on true events. And as a high school,
Gotta be so much faster.
No,
dude.
get up.
Gotta be so much
What's
faster.
the percentage of comedy and what outweighed with the trueness? Comedy and or
Always trueness, always outweighed the comedy. Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
What's your favorite game to play on your phone when you're supposed to be praying?
It changes. It changes.
I'm a big fan of Emily's. So how does your background as a therapist play into kind of the movie making process and going into writing the script?
I suggest everyone get a master's degree in therapy if they want to be a writer. Because I feel like I have a therapist have to, when they're describing that someone has depression, they can't say this person looks depressed. They have to say exhibits depression with A, B, or C. That's showing and not telling. Always be looking for how you can show and not tell. Very important.
I have a quick question for you.
Yes.
Why do I still hurt so much inside?
We'll get to that later.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody. For a good day.